Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
My name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question. Jeff, how are you doing today?
Doing okay. Little drowsy. I was up late last night playing Valheim, which is a early access survival crafting game.
Sure. Yeah, I saw you were playing it. I didn't check in though.
Yeah. To anybody who knows the genre, like crafting survival games, like there's a ton of them, especially in early access on Steam. Like there are a dime a dozen. And a lot of them are garbage. Some of them are okay. This one's pretty good. Like it's not like profound in any way. It's not like it doesn't do anything like too different than you would expect out of the genre, but I think it does everything really well, and really it's got a nice balance where there's not too much like, I don't know, there's not too much like grinding and stuff like that, or any I find myself doing a lot of grinding, but it's because it's something I want to do. It's fun.
Sure.
But like it's not like, I gotta go get more copper to repair my copper, my bronze axe or whatever. It's like, no, you just got to get back to a crafting station and you just repair it for free. Like there's a lot of little like quality of life stuff in there that I don't see in a lot of survival games that make those games a little bit more tedious.
Sure.
So I've been having a lot of fun. I've just been building a house, and it's fun. So
cool. I just watched a little trailer for it, and I mean the art style looks pretty good. Yeah,
it's low poly, low texture resolution, but like the lighting and like visual effects and like and everything is like all the particle effects and stuff are really good.
Sure. So
I've been having fun. So how about you?
So speaking of grinding and survival, I have an update regarding my job. I am now working my new job. I'm no longer working my old job. Took quite a bit of complaining. I know. I think I said last time that I had been quote unquote promised that, the next working day I'd be working the new job. I wasn't. It did not happen that day. It happened the following day, again after lots of complaining. But anyway, eventually they sent me over to the new job. And the thing is, the new job is not quite what I expected. It's not quite all that it was advertised as when I signed up for it. That being said, I think it is a net positive, better than my old job. I'll give it a few months at least and see how I like it. I might try to, move on to something else, in some reasonable amount of time. But
sure. Yeah, but at least you're not on your feet as much.
Well, that's one of the things that is not what I expected. I would say it's about the same amount.
Oh, geez.
Just again, it's not quite what I expected, but I'm sure it's still a net positive. And at the very least, I'm not on my team that I used to be on anymore, because the team I used to be on, my team leader used to be awful. My new team leader, doesn't. I don't know if I know her well enough to say that she is a good team leader yet, but she is not an awful team leader. I can say that confidently.
Sure.
So I don't know. I'll give it some time. I'll see how it goes. Also, today is a couple other just little things. Today, the day we record this is the day before Valentine's Day. So to everybody listening to this well after the fact, happy Valentine's Day.
Right.
Hopefully you had an enjoyable time. Also, here's a small thing. I almost bought an arcade cabinet today.
Did you really?
I was on Facebook Marketplace, and there was a guy selling a not too far, like maybe 2 hours from us. So a bit of a drive, and I would have to rent a truck anyway. A bit of a drive, but within, if I really wanted it, I could have gotten it. I was selling an Asteroids Deluxe cabinet. And I like Asteroids Deluxe. I've played it at, there's an arcade that used to be, maybe 45 minutes from us that I've played it there a couple times, and it's a lot of fun. But, and it was for a super low price, for $400. And as far as I could tell, it was working fine, which is like, that's everybody in the comments was like, even the monitor alone is a steal for $400.
Yeah.
And I got in touch with the guy. He said it was still available. However, after talking to him for a bit, he said he was he was thinking about just taking it apart and selling the parts for more money than he was asking for.
Right.
So I figured, what the heck, I don't know what I would do with this thing. It would have been an ordeal to even get it in the first place. So
yeah.
So I'm not upset, but it would have been neat to have an authentic vector cabinet specifically is what that was.
Although having to haul that, when it's like cold out and stuff like that too.
Yeah, that would have been a pain. But
yeah. Oh.
Someday I'll get an actual cab. Anyway, so I guess enough of that. You want to go ahead and jump into this episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Jeff, I want you to imagine that this takes place a long time ago, not even medieval times, but like pre-medieval times, like maybe a couple thousand years ago or more. This is taking place. You're out in the field. You're a shepherd, actually.
Oh, okay.
And it's the end of the day. You got your staff with the little crook on the end.
Yeah.
And you got all your sheep, and you're looking around, and you're holding your hand up to shade the sun from your eyes, and you're counting. Oh, okay, 5, 6. You fall. Whoa! You fall asleep. But then you notice. Well, wait a minute. You're supposed to have 50 sheep. There's only 49 here. You're missing one of your sheep, Jeff.
Oh man.
So what are you gonna do?
I gotta go look. I gotta go look for that sheep. Oh man.
Okay. Give me an investigation check.
Okay.
It's been a while since I've involved dice rolls in these.
Ooh, I got an 18.
Okay. It doesn't take you long, but you manage to find that last sheep. However, it is dangerously close to a dark cave.
Oh.
That is it's nothing good. So you go over and you go to grab the sheep, but it runs away from you, it runs into that cave, and you chase after it, and then you stumble and you fall, and next thing you know, you realize that there's lights in this room. You see there's like torches on the walls, and you look up and you see that the lights are reflecting gold and silver and rubies and whatnot, and you see your little sheep, and it's like I guess it's let's say this one is a goat. I know sheep and goats are different things, but you see it is chewing on a piece of metal. And that piece of metal is part of a very large pile of things in this room. Do you know what that big pile is, Jeff?
What is that big pile, Gabe?
This sheep / goat has just lured you into the dragon's hoard. So today's magic item was submitted by Sean M via Facebook, and the item is the Sling of David. This is a Bible reference, which is sort of what I was going for with the sheep.
With the shepherd.
Because only, shepherds only exist in the Bible. So this item is a magical sling. So it is a ranged weapon, and it requires attunement. This sling is said to have brought down Goliaths. I like that because Goliath, that's just a race of people in D&D. The attuned user imbues the sling over time with sheer force of will. At 5th, 10th, 15th, and 19th levels, the typical 1d4 bludgeoning damage is increased by 1 additional damage die, and the minimum and maximum range of the sling increase each by 10 at every stage. All ammunition is considered magical if fired from this sling. Ammunition can be seen to visibly grow in size during flight, with a simple stone seeming to be a boulder at the height of this sling's power. All ammunition retains any other magical properties if it has any. So, pretty simple item. It's a sling that just as you level up, it levels up as well, gets more damage, it gets better range. And then with the flavor description of the ammunition that you fling gets bigger after you fling it.
Nice.
And they count as magical. Sorry, forgot that part.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a cool item.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I'm a big fan of roguelike video games. In particular, one that I like is Enter the Gungeon. Mm-hmm. Enter the Gungeon it's a roguelike, very much like Binding of Isaac and so on. But the gimmick is that you don't necessarily get very many static buffs to your character. Instead, you are picking up lots of different guns, and each gun has different properties. And so like you'll get 7 or 8 guns over the course of a run, and they might all function completely differently. And most of them are jokes or references. There is one that is a sling. I think it's just called the Sling or something. But, it's a sling. It's also a reference to David and Goliath. But what that mechanic does, which is something that I think this should also kind of involve a little bit as well, in Enter the Gungeon, the sling, if I'm not mistaken, deals a bunch of extra damage when used against a boss. So like against regular enemies, it does X amount of damage, but against a boss, it does, double damage or whatever. I think it also has a chance of critical hits, which most don't. So what I would recommend with this item, I think this is a cool item by itself, but I would also recommend giving it some sort of a critical hit bonus, like, extra damage on criticals, just because the idea of the story of David and Goliath isn't just that, oh yeah, David has a sling that was really powerful. It's that he killed this giant in one shot.
Right.
And, it is usually regarded as a critical hit, as much as,
Sure.
a biblical story can involve a critical hit.
Right,
so,
yeah.
So that's always what I think of when I think of that story. So I just feel like every item based on it should also involve that. I could be wrong, but that's just my suggestion.
Yeah, this is really cool. I do like that it builds up with the character. Like I like magical items that level up with you.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. And what would that make it, like a D12 by 19th level?
Oh, that's I was actually assuming that it went from 1d4 to 2d4 and so on.
Oh, wait,
but
increases by 1 additional damage die. Oh, that makes more sense. Yeah, okay. Yeah. I was imagining it went from a D4 to a D6, D8, D10, D12.
Yeah, I feel like there are plenty of things that do follow that scheme.
Yeah. Because that's what I was imagining, because it's like the each time it gets stronger, the
boulder increases in size.
Yeah, the bullet gets bigger. So I just that because you're using a bigger die. So that's what I was imagining.
Either one's a cool idea.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's cool. I don't know.
Yeah,
it's got a good theme, and it's it's not like crazy complicated or anything. It's really nice.
Pretty simple, pretty not even super powerful. It doesn't have a rarity listed, but not super rare. Maybe rare, maybe uncommon. I don't know. I'd have to look at at some corresponding items and judge it based on that. So yeah, I don't really have much else to say. It's a neat item. I appreciate it. I think it's pretty cool. So Thank you very much, Sean M, for sending that in. Once again, that was the Sling of David, submitted by Sean M via Facebook. So that'll do it for the Dragon's Horde. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to be like Sean M and submit magic items for us for this segment, or submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, how could they get those to us?
They can send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com, or join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And before we go any further, we have a giveaway to give away today. Ooh. As usual, we're giving away a copy of Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2, courtesy of Crit Academy. Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2 is a great supplement full of a bunch of character concepts, encounter concepts, monster variants, magic items, player tips, and DM tips, 25 of each. Tons and tons of stuff for players, for DMs, for anybody just interested in, learning more about the game, about coming up with cool ideas, all sorts of stuff. So who is the winner, Jeff? Who is the winner of this great supplement today?
Today's winner is Matthew N.
Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes, congratulations, Matthew N. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. If you haven't gotten it within the next week, let us know. And of course, be sure to leave Crit Academy a review. The more reviews they have, the more attention they can get, and the more they can know what to work on in future products. So big thank you to Crit Academy for facilitating that. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to be like Matthew N. and win a free copy of this great supplement, how do they enter the drawing?
They enter by sending us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2 in the subject line.
That is correct. And big thank you to Crit Academy. Congratulations, Matthew N., and good luck to everybody else out there. And next up, I want to thank all of our wonderful patrons. Patreon is an online platform. You can pledge to donate a certain amount of money per month to the creator of your choice. If you go to ours at patreon.com/interpartyconflict, we've got a few different tiers. On the lowest tier, we've got a bunch of outtakes. We've got a bunch of fantasy fiction I've written. On the next tier up, we've got a monthly bonus podcast called InterPatronConflict, where Jeff and I talk about various topics. And then on the top tier, we have a Roll20 game for our top tier patrons. I believe the day that this goes out, our game for February will have just passed. So, you won't have time to join for this one, but we'll definitely have one next month. And I think that should be a lot of fun. So big thank you to everybody who has donated to us. We understand that, it's tough sometimes. Take care of yourself first. If you got any other money left over afterwards, maybe think about sending it our way. And just, to everybody, thank you. You guys have helped keep the lights on and help us keep making the show and everything. So we really appreciate it. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Last thing, just check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy, critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Austin create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Check out the Kind GM podcast, which is another advice podcast aimed mainly at running the game. Also check out Brute Force and Ignorance. They're an actual play podcast that is on hiatus. And check out D&D Character Lab, where Garen and Dan made characters every week and pitted them against each other to debate whose characters were better. Enough of all that. Let's get into some questions, Jeff.
Okay, our first question comes from Colton S. on email, and they ask, do you think you can make a castle using the Mending spell to put the bricks of stone together instead of mortar?
And just one thing, when Colton sent in this email, it was in all caps. I don't know why.
It? Okay,
but just in my head, I'm like, I need to know this answer. Please, you have to tell me. Do you think you can do this?
I must know. Do you think?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I thought this would be a fun question to discuss, whether this should be allowed or is allowed.
So, as far as I understand, because I've looked into Mending because I think it's a pretty cool spell. It's a nice utility cantrip.
I have the text if you would like me to read it for our listeners.
Yeah, go ahead.
This spell is a cantrip in 5th edition D&D. This spell repairs a single break or tear in an object you touch, such as a broken chain link, 2 halves of a broken key, a torn cloak, or a leaking wineskin. As long as the break or tear is no larger than 1 foot in any dimension, you mend it, leaving no trace of the former damage. This spell can physically repair a magic item or construct, but the spell can't restore magic to such an object.
Right. So by the reading, answer is no. Yep. But I don't see why that couldn't be does it take a minute to cast, or is it like 10 minutes?
It is 1 minute to cast.
1 minute to cast. I feel like if your player wants to do this, I don't see why it's that. It's I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal.
Sure.
I cannot imagine this being something that's going to break the game for you. Maybe they're trying to brick up a corridor in a dungeon to keep a monster from getting through or something like that. Okay, they're going to have to do it a brick every minute. And then it's only going to be as strong as, say, a brick wall with some mortar. So, if it's if you got a Minotaur coming after you, it'll probably be able to break through that anyway. So, I don't see this being an overpowered thing. It is not as written, but that's why, Mending is one of those things that you can kind of, I don't know, you can have some fun with it, but yeah, you do kind of have to draw the line somewhere.
Sure. Yeah. As written, like you said, no, it's pretty clear that it doesn't work that way. That being said, yeah, like you were saying, it's not really practical, unless mortar is some sort of rare commodity in your world. It's not gonna break anything. I think it's kind of clever. Mm-hmm. There isn't really, because of the long casting time, there isn't really a good way to get some sort of a powerful use out of this. And also, who takes Mending?
I usually do.
Okay, let me rephrase that. Who uses Mending?
Not that often.
Yeah, it's not a super commonly taken cantrip. And even among the people that I've played with that do take it, nobody uses it. I think that if there were a lot of situations that were commonplace that use Mending, maybe I would feel differently. Maybe I'd be like, oh, it's already a powerful enough spell, whatever. But no, I mean, I think this is a clever use of the spell. If a player really wanted to do it, maybe I would make them make some sort of a spellcasting ability check or something. But, it's kind of a neat idea. I used to live in Tennessee. I currently live in Michigan. And when I lived in Tennessee, the Tennessee Renaissance Festival was, it was maybe like a half-hour drive from where we lived. And the location that they chose for it was just kind of like, on this, just off the freeway in this, big field. But they specifically chose that location because right across the street was a castle, kind of. Not really a whole castle, but like a tower. There was some guy that bought some land down there, 20, 30 years ago, whatever, and then decided, I want to build a castle, or again, just a tower. And so like you can take a tour of it as part of the Renaissance Festival. You can take a tour of this guy's house. And, he tells the story, and it's basically like, every day for however many years, he would get off work, he would drive to this property that he owned, and he would just sit there and he would just lay bricks and lay bricks and lay bricks for years until eventually he built a tower. And like, it looks really good. The rest of the property looks great. And it is now part of this, this Renaissance Festival attraction as well. So it's just a cool thing. Now, I'm sure that the bricks cost him a lot of money, but aside from that, it was basically just, he just had to take the time and the effort was far more of a cost for him than anything else. So, I mean, if magic were involved, I could definitely see that being an easier thing, and I wouldn't really have a problem with it in game. It would still take so long to build a castle. You'd still need all the bricks and stuff. So I don't know. I don't know why I shared that anecdote. I think this is a neat idea. This is the sort of thing I would encourage my players to think about. No, it's not necessarily allowed by the rules, but make a check or something. It's goofy. Go ahead and do it.
There was actually there's a YouTube channel I've brought up a couple times in the past. Z Bashu. Yeah. He actually just like 4 days ago put up one about mending. Okay. I was just thinking about it. I don't remember exactly what he spoke on it, but there was like a little gag at the end where it was like a friend of his was like listing off a bunch of things that like, can I do this with mending? Can I do this with mending? And he was like, yes, no, maybe, I don't know.
Oh, maybe that's why Colton sent this in. It's like, I have to know.
Maybe that's why it's in all caps, because it was just so urgent. Because it was just like it had just come up on YouTube.
Yeah.
But I was just coming up with like I wonder if you could use it this way. It's like, all right, you take a brick, right? You break it in half. You like kind of like hollow out a little bit of it and like hide a key inside of it, and then you could like mend it back together, so you can like hide something inside of a brick that is like one brick in a wall of hundreds.
Yeah.
So it's like a neat little way to like hide a small object, or like I don't know what the exact rules on phylacteries are, like, but that could be something.
Oh yeah, hide a phylactery inside a brick in a castle.
Right. It's like, who's gonna check who's gonna crack open every single brick? I think I remember somebody giving telling the story of like there was like a phylactery that was a material component for raising a skeleton, like with Animate Dead or something like that.
Okay. I
think the idea was that in order to raise a skeleton from the dead, you had to use a material component that was like an opal that would be part of their skull or something like that.
Okay.
And so
that does sound familiar.
Yeah, I don't know what edition or what game this was from. This might be just from like a specific like campaign setting or something, but I don't know. I just remember somebody was like, "Oh yeah, like the Lich's phylactery was one of those opals." So like no one ever thought to check, it's just a random item. Usually a phylactery is something they guard and is like it has a lot of like prestige and magistry around it. But if it's just like a brick in the wall.
Yeah. I'm looking at the 3rd edition Animate Dead The material component is a black onyx gem worth at least 25 gold per hit die of the undead that you have to put into the mouth or eye socket of each corpse.
That's, onyx gem, yeah. So, and I don't know what the rules for making a phylactery. I don't know if it could just be any old item. But,
I don't know.
I mean, that's another thing is like only a couple editions had actual rules for becoming a lich.
Yeah. Jeff, are you familiar with the concept of cold welding?
Cold welding? I don't think so, no.
So, it's a little bit of a physics lesson. I will probably get some of these details wrong, so look it up yourselves, but I'll give a summary the best I can. So, the idea is, let's say you have two pieces of metal. If you touch them together, theoretically, if two metal atoms touch one another, the atoms don't know what they were and weren't a part of. Like, theoretically, if you can get two edges of two metal objects next to each other with nothing in between them, they will bond exactly as if they were one object. Theoretically.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that it's not realistic. Number one, pretty much all metals oxidize when they are exposed to the air. So the oxidized portion does not, it gets in the way.
Sure.
Also, there might be other materials that are mixed in or coating or whatever. So you can't just grab two pieces of metal. You couldn't just pick up, a knife and fork and touch them to one another and have them weld together, obviously.
Right.
However, if you were in outer space, if you were in some sort of a vacuum, and you had two pieces of unoxidized metal, so like metal that it has no impurities on the outsides, it is just two raw pieces of that metal. If you touch them together, they will instantly bond as if they were one object.
Huh.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's just like the structure of the molecules themselves, kind of just like...
Yeah, it's just because of how physics work, the molecules don't know that they aren't part of the same object. They just know, we're atoms, we're molecules, we're touching each other, and that's just what it is.
Right.
So that's kind of what comes to mind when I do think of mending just two rocks or two bricks to each other.
Right.
Again, it's changing the spell a little bit, but if there was, like, maybe you could only do it under certain conditions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you did have to do something to prepare them first, but once you prepared them, then you could cast mending and attach them together. I would allow that. If there was some sort of other thing the players had to do that did make it even less practical than it already was.
Right.
So yeah, to answer the question, no, you can't, but
maybe
you can.
But ask your DM. It's not that big of a deal, like to let that happen, especially with that casting time. It's like,
DMs, if somebody manages to break your game using mending, all right, sorry, I'll own up to that one.
Sorry. All right, our next question comes from the Beverage Tea on Discord, and they ask, total party kills. What do you do when one occurs during an adventure module? Do you restart the module as is? Do you reskin it as something else? Or do you just call it a loss?
Yeah, and when this was submitted, it was primarily being asked as, like, if you bought the module to run on Roll20, I think is the context that the Beverage Tea was using. So it's like, I bought this module, we played with it, we got some players, and then we were playing through it, and then all the players died. Do I just run it for another group? Do I tell the same group, all right, make new characters, we're starting over? Do you try to run the same module but disguise it so the players don't realize it's the same module?
Right.
Really, good question is just, what do you do when you get a TPK? When everybody dies, how do you move forward from that point?
Right. And I could see where this is in this specific situation with the Roll20 thing. It's like, buying modules on Roll20 is not cheap, and so like if you bought it specifically to play with your friends and then was a total party kill, like if you're starting over, then they're going to know everything, it's not, that's not going to be as fun the second time around. So it's like, did you just waste your money kind of a thing? I get it.
Sure.
I think there might be something to the reskinning it, but more or less like come at it from a different angle. Like you don't have to reskin it. You just like the hook is different,
Sure.
If they got a new group, and maybe it wouldn't be like the next adventure you did. Like it's like, okay, you guys start new characters, maybe do a fresh adventure with the new characters, and then once they get used to those characters, then like bring them back to the module, but like just from a different angle, and like have them come across the corpses of their past selves.
Yes.
It's like that could be a lot of fun. But
yeah, I
that's a
definitely
lot. That's a lot of work, though. So
yeah, it can be. So I think probably the simplest answer I can give is ask the players.
Mm-hmm.
Say, hey guys, all right, so we all died. What do you want to do? Do you want to start over? Do you want to make new characters and then pick up where your previous characters left off and so on? Some players might be like, I want a second try at that. Let's just start it over.
Right. Yeah. Whatever the encounter was, if it was like just one nasty encounter that got everybody, like they could be like, all right, can we just let's start over from before that encounter? And, hopefully we'll know what we're doing this time.
And like, I'll admit that idea, part of me is like, oh, that's not what D&D is. But then on the other hand, why not?
Why not?
There is no rule saying that you can't have a save point and then start over from that point if it goes bad. I mean, I know that that's not really a thing in D&D, but I mean, like, so what?
Yeah.
There isn't really like, guys, D&D can be whatever you want. You can institute that if you want to. No, I won't tell anybody if you do it. I promise.
Now, I wouldn't go so far to say set up a quick save system in your games.
Yeah.
But if something like this happened, it's just sort of like, we kind of want to just keep playing this though, so let's just do it, because you could just do it.
Yeah.
Like it does. It doesn't have to be part of the game. It's D&D. You can do whatever you want.
Yeah. There isn't a hard and fast rule about what you do when everyone dies. So like you can make up whatever you can handle it however you want to.
Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't even say I wouldn't make it part of the game either. Cause like you don't even have to be like, oh, a deity, reversed time for 10 minutes or whatever,
Sure.
What's that character Whis from Dragon Ball with his redo thing?
I did not know that was a thing.
In Dragon Ball Super, there's a character that like in one of there's the movie where they resurrect Frieza and then Frieza blows up the Earth because that's the thing that he does. Okay. And then like this one character just like did like a 30 or like a couple minute redo or something, like he did like a time redo or something like that. Anyway.
Okay, so it's like the Omega 13 from Galaxy Quest.
I like that reference better. I like that reference 100 times better. Great film.
Okay.
So yeah. It's the Omega 13.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't even have to be that. You just be like, hey guys, let's try that again.
Sure.
It's simple as that. The only thing it's going to ruin is that one encounter, and it didn't really ruin it because they got to experience it. They got to experience it and then they died, but now they get to do it again and then continue on the adventure. You
could even, if you wanted to, if the players were willing, start the adventure over and let them use whatever knowledge they already had. When we, a couple weeks ago when we had Taylor on, we talked about like, should the DM punish players for metagaming? And I had talked about like, what to do if a player has read the module and like, that they are using their knowledge of the module to get to like secret areas and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's not inherently that's only a problem if you don't like it. Like that isn't necessarily, it's not automatically a problem.
Yeah.
Similarly, if the players did go through half the dungeon and then they died, and if everybody is like, I don't know, I liked my character, I liked the adventure, let's just start this adventure over from the beginning, and then they're allowed to use whatever out of game, whatever knowledge they gained from the previous time. Now they won't step on that pressure plate. Now they will find that secret door, or they'll stop that goblin from getting away or whatever. Like that's not inherently bad. that might even sound good to some of your players.
Yeah.
So don't necessarily rule all of that out. Again, check with your players, check with everybody, see how everyone feels about it, and then make a call going that way. But like a long time ago, that's how I did the Tomb of Horrors with you and Steve.
Right. Yeah.
I had you guys. It was you had all of the knowledge of all of your previous attempts, and so like you could immediately start over with new characters. You could immediately start over with the same characters. And then after a certain point, we would even stop. You wouldn't even have to play out the entire encounters. We could just be like, okay, we do this, we do this, we do this. And then we're in the, fourth or fifth room or whatever.
Yeah.
So like, if that is fun, if it is fun for you to let them go through the part they've already been through, blaze through it because now they know what to expect. That could be a way to keep it fun, keep it quick, and keep it kind of fresh because D&D doesn't really do that. So I feel like some players might enjoy that,
Yeah, like it's like a roguelike, like you can make it like that. It's fun.
So like it, full disclosure, the only times I've ever had a TPK, it didn't really matter. Like it's only been during like I had a TPK during one of our Roll20 games. I was running the first adventure of the Age of Worms.
Right.
And the party went into this room where these enemies showed up, and in the first round, all of the party was either dead or unconscious. Just like one or two turns in.
I think we all got like stunned or something, and then it was just
That might have been a bit of a misjudgment on my part with the enemies that I put in there, but because I was converting it from 3rd edition to 5th edition.
Right.
So like that was a TPK, but it was the end of the session anyway. So I was just like, all right, we don't need to worry about what happens next. We'll have something else next time.
I mean, it's also like luck of rolls too. Like,
everybody rolled pretty poorly.
Right. Yeah. I like the consequences were terrible, but like the save itself, I don't remember being that hard. It's just everybody rolled really low.
Yeah. I want to say I've had a TPK maybe one or two other times, but similarly, it was not during a long running campaign. It wasn't when I was running like a module that I had gotten specifically for that. With the Age of Worms one, I've had that module for 15 years or whatever. So I don't have a ton of experience with TPKs. I do try to avoid them if possible. So I might not be the best person to ask about this, but I just think that if you enjoy the adventure, and especially if you spent money on it, definitely find some way to still use it. You could try reskinning it as something else. That does sound like a lot of work. Having the players go through, having it be a sequel to when the previous party got killed, I think is a good idea too. Like Jeff was saying, have them start off with a different plot hook. They go through, they are finding clues that another party has been through here. And then eventually, sure enough, they find the corpses of the previous party. Yeah. I think that that's a cool moment for the players. And I think you should try something like that if it seems like it's an option.
Yeah. Yeah, because if the module, like if it's the adventure takes place in like a dungeon or a temple or something, like have that location, function as something else for a different adventure, so they have to go back to that place, and then they can kind of pick up where they left off, from a different angle.
Yeah, like there's always opportunity to reuse something in a different adventure if players didn't get there. Like even if it's just like, oh, here's this cool cache of treasure that the players didn't find. Shoot, put that into a different adventure. You've already got a table of treasure already made up. So never just call it a loss, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right, yeah. Revisiting stuff too can be really exciting and fun if done right. If done right. Sometimes it's just sort of like, it might come off as lazy. I mean, I feel like that happens more often in video games where they're like reusing the same level over and over again.
Oh, sure.
But I think it's something like D&D. It's not going to be as easily seen as being lazy.
Sure.
So I don't know.
One example that comes to mind in a video game is in Pokemon Gold and Silver. After beating the game, you can go to the world of the previous game. You can go to the world of Pokemon Red and Blue.
Yep.
And explore that world again. Like as just an extra little bonus thing. So
Right.
if it was you run a different adventure for the party with their new group that they started after the first party died. So you run a second thing, and then after that, oh, hey, and here's this, somebody's hiring us to go and look for this group of adventurers that went missing. And then that could be a cool opportunity to, now that they are stronger and they are better, they can go and they can find the aftermath of the previous party. And then, hey, here's an idea. Maybe the whole party didn't die. Maybe, like, if they died in an ancient temple or something, they got turned into monsters, or one of them got turned into a vampire or a zombie or something.
Yeah, like have something be different, like, because they think they know exactly what they're gonna see.
Yeah.
But then when they get there, like, maybe if there was 4 of them, maybe only 3 are there. Where's the 4th one?
Ooh, I like that.
Did that one person survive? Did their body get stolen? Maybe they got raised into the undead. Like, where's that one person? But, like, I'm wondering, like, maybe the characters don't know that there is a 4th one, but the players do. So it's like, what do they do with that information? Like, what do they do?
Yeah, I
don't know. Sort of.
No, that's a good idea. But yeah, don't call it a loss. Like, there's definitely stuff that you can do.
Yeah, absolutely.
You like everything negative that happens in role playing, try to use it as an opportunity rather than a setback. I know that's easier said than done, but it's possible.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that'll do it for our questions for this week. I'm not giving a rant this week, so I'm not going to go on for an extra half an hour.
Sure.
So those are our regular questions. We still have our social media questions, though. Our last social media question was, have you ever commissioned any custom artwork for a character or campaign? If so, show it to us. So I'm going to hold these up to the microphone.
Right, yeah.
And then, listeners, I want you to hear what the picture sounds like and enjoy it.
Use your sonar.
This is, these are... We're not really going to be able to... You'll be able to visit these because they're on our social media platforms. But
yeah.
I guess we will mention who posted them. If it says who made the picture, we can mention that too. We'll see what happens, I guess. So the picture that I did put for this on our social media is that picture of you, Jeff.
Right, yeah. I saw that. Somebody had responded like, man, that guy likes turtles. And I'm like, yes.
Yes. And that the artist was Steve Pierce. I believe stevepierceart.com is the website and the watermark.
Yep.
But yeah, it's a very, very cool picture of Jeff riding a turtle with armor and a sword, and it is amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I have a print of it like on my desk. It's because I like it so much.
That's good. I found I was able to find. I mentioned that I got some art commissioned for based on our actual play that we did a couple years ago. I have 2 pieces of art. One was of the half-orc monster slayer Walden the Slayer. I have a picture that our friend Steve drew of that character. I also have a picture of the vampire woman that you guys encountered, who I had a name for at one point, but I eventually changed her name to Tig.
Tig, right? Yeah.
Because I had talked about her gigantic teeth, not realizing what it's the innuendo it sounded like I was making.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
So I have a picture of the 2 of them. I'll put those in the show notes for anybody to look at. On Facebook, Alexander P. says, my own work for an Apocalypse World campaign, driver of the fastest monocycle in the wastelands. And so they put up a picture of a character named Marilyn, sort of like a Mad Max style character. I'm not super familiar with Apocalypse World, but I believe it fits that aesthetic. That's actually the only one we got on Facebook. We didn't get any on Reddit. Alstar the Minotaur did mention one, but it's in the Discord rather than Reddit. Over on Twitter, Quality Wood Squares says, I have not, but I love seeing them on Reddit. Very cool to see people's imaginations take form.
Yeah.
And I agree. That's why I had this question, because I would love to see some of our listeners' people. Damien the DM from Adventures in Aurelia posted, our Aurelian epic party was a commission piece done by the wonderful @Sketch Goblin. And I've seen this picture plenty of times before. This is a picture of Damien, the DM from that group, as well as the 4 players as their characters from that. And it's a really cool picture. It's on our Twitter, so go check that out. And once again, that was it was made by Sketch Goblin on Twitter. So it's a really cool art style. I'm trying to think of how to describe it. Like it's nothing has outlines. It's just the differences in color. I don't know if there's a term for that. Maybe I should have learned some art terms before asking people, before deciding to describe art to people.
Sure.
But,
yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, but anyway, that's really cool. So check that out. Over on Discord, Alistar the Minotaur gave us a link to the character Manasa Calderosa, which was, I believe, Alistar's girlfriend's character. It is a Nagaji Blood Rager. Is this character. And it's like a badass pirate.
Yeah, I love Blood Ragers.
Yeah.
Such a cool class.
And this picture comes from sketchmob.com, I believe, is cool. On the watermark there. And actually, Alistar said, Captain Manasa Calderosa, this is actually my girlfriend's favorite character she played. I had it commissioned for her by an artist named Robert Arty. You can read about her backstory in the Reddit post, as well as links to Robert's ArtStation account if you're interested. So there is a link there to the when this was posted on Reddit, so it's got a description in there.
Yeah.
Dustin on Discord says, I once made a t-shirt listing all the names of my characters. It said, hi, my name is, and then a list of characters, aka Dustin, but I am too poor for art. Also, I should point out that when I said made, I mean I painted the letters on with craft paint.
Well, there you
go. Hey, no judgment.
Right?
Whatever works. Collins B says, never commissioned any from other artists, but for one campaign, I drew comic book covers for each session or issue. Number 47 here being the penultimate session of the first campaign and a crossover with the DM's second group he ran. And there's a picture here, and it's a very cool looking, very much comic book art style picture, and it says Straggler at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, check that out. That's really cool. It's got all the characters standing in the superhero V pattern with the main one in the front.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And then I think that was everybody. So thank you everybody for sending in those pictures that I very poorly described to our listeners.
Oh, well.
I don't know if this would count or not. I guess I'm the one making the rules, so it can if I say it is. But I've painted miniatures, and I've had miniatures painted.
Oh,
I don't know if that
true.
I think that's kind of a different question, but
yeah, I get you.
If I had included miniatures in the question, we probably would have gotten more responses. Maybe I'll do that some other time. If maybe I've done that before. Have I ever done that question, listeners? Right?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, I've commissioned miniatures for two of my characters, Ichi and Sathorn, and then I've painted I painted an Ichi, and I think the only other ones I've painted. I'm looking around right now. I think the only other ones I've painted myself were board game miniatures. So I don't think any of the other ones I painted were characters I've actually played as.
Gotcha.
So yeah, thank you everybody for writing in. So that was our last social media question. Our next social media question, and this is a question, we've had this question before. However, it was 3 years ago, and it was before we started covering them on the podcast. It was back when I would just post questions, see what people said. So this one is, do you prefer high magic, low magic, or something in between? So do you prefer high magic campaigns, low magic campaigns, or just standard whatever? Because I feel like I read a lot of stories of some people saying that they prefer low magic campaigns. People are always looking for ways to, get rid of magic from D&D and so on. Yeah. But also, my answer to this question is I love high magic. Give me all the magic you got.
Yeah. I feel like I want to say high magic, but I don't think I'd hate low magic. It just depends on how low you want to go.
Sure.
Because I like the idea of a world that has high magic, but the party doesn't interact with that high magic till much later.
Sure.
That can be kind of fun. Or it could go the other way with something like Eberron, where there's magic everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just everything is magic. Magic is technology and magic are the same thing, and everything.
One and the same. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just everywhere. So it can be fun in all the different ways. I just I don't know if I don't think I'd want to play a D&D game that was just basically no magic. Like,
yeah,
if you know, I don't know if that'd be. I guess it could be fun, but I don't know why I would do that though.
Yeah, I played in a campaign a long time ago where it's not that you couldn't make a magic user, but every magic user had to like make a whole bunch of skill checks just to cast a spell. And, you know, so everybody else took the option that I feel like most players will, and that's just, they just didn't play magic characters. However, I was like, no, man, I'm going to engage in this magic, you know, limitation mechanic. So I not only made a character, I made a multi-class, a wizard cleric, I think is what I made. And it wasn't fun. I don't know what I was expecting, but I think I might have cast one spell in the first session. And it wasn't fun.
Yeah.
You know? So I don't know. I love magic. Give me all the magic you got.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for our questions for today. But before we close out, let's relax. Let's wind down. Let's take a deep breath. Let's remember those who have come before us that gave their lives so that we may have a better world to live in, as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. Today's funeral pyre was submitted by Ravel G via email. And Ravel said that this is sort of a mix of a funeral pyre and retirement village. And I'm still not feeling 100% confident on our retirement village intro and background sound, so I'm just going to leave it as a funeral pyre.
Okay.
So, the level is high. The boss battle is about to commence. The party has broken out of their bonds and charges into the room holding the big bad evil guy. The arcane trickster has already somehow transformed into a Tarrasque using Polymorph. Then parentheses, I forget exactly how. Yeah, I would also like to know exactly how. He attacks in a flurry of bites and claws and tail attacks, but is brought down early in the battle. The rest of the party charges in, and the Archmage/Lich boss takes down the party one by one. Only the Rock Gnome Artificer is left. He loads his crossbow and fires again and again in a cavalcade of staggering smites as the boss fails to bring him down. Finally, the boss explodes dramatically in a flash of radiant damage, and the gnome travels home to smoke his pipe in peace. Alvin Ralnor lives out a good life with a son. His daughter disappeared when she was just 3. Mystery music. Now I gotta come up with mystery music to put in there. And then in parentheses, a little epilogue here. Spoilers for absolutely nothing. I played both Sibo, his son, and Vera, his daughter, who was teleported to another world at an early age somehow. Sibo was an artillerist, and Vera became a swarmkeeper.
Swarmkeeper?
Oh, it's a ranger. It's a ranger archetype.
Okay.
All right, so let's raise a glass in memory of Ravel's characters. As I have to ask, no, seriously, how did they turn into that Tarrasque?
Yeah.
Clink. All right, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon Sword, or stories for the funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Reddit, we're on our Interparty Discord, we're on Twitter at InPartyConflict. Check those out for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We have a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where you can watch us play video games, or you can come watch me play video games live at twitch.tv/tiltedturtle.
There you go. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show. What you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time...
Gabe, can you use Mending to edit a podcast?
I wish. So little tidbit, and I'll probably cut this part out, but little tidbit. You want to hear something interesting about being a high level wizard in 5th edition?
What's that?
Let's say you're a 20th level wizard.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to, let me actually bring up a thing. Hang on. So let's say that you are a 20th level wizard. Once you reach 20th level, if you wish, you can permanently give yourself a 19 armor class, 300 hit points, a fly speed of 60 feet, a strength of 26, a con of 24, a wisdom of 18, a charisma of 24, fireball at will, multiple attacks per round. You can permanently give yourself all of this stuff once you reach level 20 if you want to.
What?
So the spell True Polymorph.
Oh.
I was not familiar that the spell did all of this, but the way that True Polymorph works is basically when you cast it, it's like it's either that you turn the target into something that is your CR, that is your level in CR, or maybe the target has to be that CR or whatever. But anyway, a Pit Fiend is CR 20. You can use, at level 20, you can use True Polymorph to turn anybody, I guess, presumably yourself, into a Pit Fiend. And you get all of its game mechanics. As far as I can tell, in addition to your class abilities. You get all of its stats, you get all of its actions, which include in the innate spell casting of Fireball at will and Detect Magic at will. And it's a concentration spell, but if you hold the concentration for 1 hour, the spell becomes permanent. I'm pretty sure it can still be dispelled, and also if you get dropped to 0 hit points, then you revert back automatically. But what this means is that literally every 20th level wizard, whether they cast the spell themselves, whether they get a scroll of it and cast it on themselves, they can just basically permanently have the stats of a Pit Fiend.
Well, dang.
And there doesn't seem to be any drawback. I mean, like with certain forms, there are drawbacks because like you have to be able to speak or you can't cast spells. You have to have arms or you can't cast spells or wield weapons or whatever. But a Pit Fiend has all of those.
Right.
And maybe you could do this. Maybe there are other enemies you could do this with at lower levels too. Like, I mean, you'd have to be level 17 at least to cast True Polymorph, unless you had a scroll of it at a lower level. But there are probably other uses of this that are also really powerful. But like at level 20, you better be taking True Polymorph because that is nothing but an upgrade for basically every wizard.
Sure.
Heck, its intelligence is 22. I would bet there are some 20th level wizards that don't have a 22 intelligence from, even with whatever magic items they have.
Right. Yeah. They could probably, get an extra buff to their intelligence too. Wow.
It's basically like, why are you not permanently a Pit Fiend once you reach level 20?
I'm a level 20 wizard. Why am I not a Pit Fiend? Yeah. Okay.
So,
but then when you brought up like maybe they had a scroll at lower level, like how low of a level can you be to use a 9th level scroll?
That's a good question. I mean, if it's like 3rd edition, you don't have to be that high of a level. It's just a matter of getting the thing. The spells on your class's spell list, but at a higher level you can normally cast. You must make an ability check using your spellcasting ability to determine whether you cast it successfully. The DC equals 10 plus the spell's level. So a 19. You have to roll a 19 in order to cast.
So that's doable at level 1.
That is doable at level 1. But I mean, again, let me look at exactly what the wording is on True Polymorph. How the level /CR thing works.
Choose one creature or non-magical object that you can see within range. You transform the creature into a different creature, the creature into an object, the object into a creature.
So look at where it says creature into creature. If you turn a creature into another kind of creature, the new form can be of any kind you choose, whose challenge rating is equal or less than the target's or its level. So challenge rating is equal or less than the target's or its level if the target doesn't have a challenge rating. So if you're casting on a person, which includes yourself, so the target's level has to be equal to or above the CR of the creature you're turning them into.
Huh.
But then the target's game statistics, including mental ability scores, are replaced with the statistics of the new form. It retains its alignment and personality. It assumes the hit points. They are limited in the actions it can perform by the nature of its new form, and it can't speak, cast spells, or take any other action that requires hands or speech unless its new form is capable of such actions. So if you can have hands and can speak, you can cast all the spells you previously had. You can use all of the actions you already had.
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, the only drawback is that you might not be able to fit into certain doors because you're so big. And paladins will probably be upset when they see you. Those are the only drawbacks to permanently becoming a pit fiend.
Now I want to go through the list and find like the coolest, like how cool can you get at lower levels? Like how early on can you do something like this?
Yeah.
Like if you could somehow convince your DM to let you get a scroll of true polymorph so that you can turn yourself into a whatever the heck.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
That's an experiment to try
wild,
though.
Yeah. That is wild. I didn't realize, I didn't realize it just becomes permanent after an hour. I just thought it lasts an hour.
Yeah. And like I said, it can probably, I'm sure it can be dispelled. And if you get reduced to 0 hit points, it goes away. You turn back to your previous form. But
then you just cast it again.
You just cast it again, exactly. Oh no, I gotta wait an hour in order to be a pit fiend permanently again.
Darn it.
Yeah. So, and it's not even just wizard. Bards and warlocks can do that too.
Bard. That's great.
The warlock can become a bigger demon than their patron.
They become their own patron. That's amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean,
I'm the patron now.
Like, a pit fiend specifically, you have to be level 20 to do it because they are a CR 20. And like, I even looked at Baylor's. Baylor's are like a 21, so you couldn't realistically do that in a normal campaign. So I can't get too upset because it's level 20. You should expect the players to be able to do whatever. It's just real weird that there is no drawback.
Yeah.
They might as well just make every bard, warlock, and wizard have the 20th level ability pit fiend now.
Oops, all pit fiends.
Oops, all pit fiends, exactly.
I mean, like there's the druid thing that lets them wild shape, as many times per they go from only being able to do it twice a day.
Yeah.
For the entire game until level 20 where it's unlimited. And if you're the Circle of the Moon, you can do a bonus action and you could just, as a bonus action, basically heal yourself for whatever the highest hit point form you can take.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we should do this outro. I got a little distracted there.
You can leave that in, I guess.
I'll think about it.
Okay.
maybe I'll put it after the outro.